It's pretty wild to think about how much of the world is completely hidden from us. Today, we're diving into this incredible story of human ingenuity, a story about our relentless quest to see a universe that's right under our noses but totally invisible. So let's start this journey and go way past the limits of our own eyes. Everything starts with a hard limit, zero point 0.2 millimeters. That's it. That's the absolute best the human eye can do on its own. It's the smallest detail we can possibly make out. Anything smaller than that, it all just blurs together. It's basically a biological wall. And that, right there, is the big question, isn't it? What about all the cells, the bacteria, the literal building blocks of life that are all working on a scale way, way smaller than zero point 0.2 millimeters? How could we ever hope to explore a world we couldn't even see? This one question is what drove centuries of invention. So the first breakthrough was, well, it was pure genius in its simplicity. It wasn't about getting new eyes. It was about tricking the light that was already coming into our own. And just like that, the age of the optical microscope had begun. And you can see right here how it works. The magic is really all in two special lenses that bend light. The objective lens, which goes right near the object, and the ocular lens, or the eyepiece, which is what we look through. Okay, so let's just trace the path of light for a second. Light from a lamp shoots up and passes through our tiny specimen. The objective lens grabs that light and creates a first magnified image inside the tube. Then, the ocular lens acts like a simple magnifying glass, taking that already bigger image and blowing it up even more into something our eye can finally see. Simple, elegant, and it literally opened up a whole new world.
But you know how it is. You solve one problem and a brand new one pops up. Magnification was awesome, but what good is it if the thing you're looking at is basically a tiny clear blob? A lot of living cells are almost completely transparent. Light just passes right through them, which means no contrast, and they stay like little invisible ghosts.
So, the next big wave of innovation wasn't about getting more magnification. It was about a huge leap in thinking. Scientists realized, okay, if we can't see the object itself, maybe we can mess with the light passing through it to make it reveal its secrets. The first trick is called polarization. So imagine light waves are vibrating in every direction. A polarizing filter is like a gate that only lets light vibrating in one specific direction get through. You put one filter before the sample and another one, called an analyzer, after it, usually turned 90 degrees. Normally, no light gets through. But if something in the sample, like the organized fibers in a muscle, actually twists that light, it can suddenly sneak through the second filter. And boom, that structure lights up against a dark background. And the result is like night and day. On the left, with normal light, you just get a blurry mess. But on the right, using polarized light, all these detailed structures and patterns just pop right out. You're not seeing the object directly, you're seeing how the object messes with the light. Pretty clever, right? Okay, but what if the cell doesn't twist light? Well, the next trick is based on a really cool fact. Even if a clear cell doesn't block light, it does slow it down just a tiny bit. This creates a really small, invisible shift in the phase of the light wave. So phase contrast microscopy is this ingenious method that turns those invisible phase shifts into visible differences in brightness. And this was huge. I mean, for the very first time, scientists could watch living, unstained cells in real time. Just look at this incredible image of a cell right in the middle of dividing. This wasn't some dead, stained specimen. This was life, happening right before their eyes, all made visible by a trick of light. Then things got even more targeted. The next idea was, what if we could make just one specific part of a cell light up like a tiny neon sign? And that's the whole idea behind fluorescence. You use these special dyes called fluorochromes that are designed to stick to very specific molecules. You hit them with one color of light and they get all excited and then emit light of a totally different color. And you can be incredibly specific with this. I mean, look at this table. It's like a menu. A dye like rhodamine gets excited by green light, but DAPI, which loves to grab onto DNA, needs UV light to get going. By picking your dye, you get to pick exactly which part of the cell you want to light up. And the result is just absolutely stunning. Instead of trying to see the whole cell at once, you see just the specific parts you tagged glowing brilliantly against a pitch-black background. This technique gives you unbelievable contrast, letting you basically create a glowing treasure map of the cell.
But even with all of these brilliant tricks, scientists were racing towards a wall, a fundamental physical barrier that no clever lens or fancy dye could ever get around, a limit that was built into the very nature of light itself.
This is the key concept right here. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to figure out the exact shape of a tiny pebble by using giant ocean waves. It's just not going to work, right? The waves are way too big to feel the pebble's fine details. Well, the exact same thing is true for light. The wavelength of visible light puts a hard cap on resolution at around 200 nanometers. You simply cannot see two things that are closer together than that with a regular light microscope. End of story. So if light waves are just too big for the job, what's the solution? Well, you've got to find a different kind of wave, one with a much, much shorter wavelength. And that's where electrons come in. The wavelength of an electron beam is thousands of times shorter than visible light. This doesn't just push the limit, it completely smashes it to pieces, letting us see details all the way down to 0.2 nanometers. That's 1,000 times better.
This was it, the big paradigm shift. To see the truly, truly small, we had to give up on seeing with light. The solution was to build a totally new kind of microscope, one that uses a beam of electrons instead of photons.
The first type is the transmission electron microscope, or TEM. It kind of works like a super-powered slide projector. You fire a powerful beam of electrons through an unbelievably thin slice of your sample. And instead of glass lenses, you use powerful electromagnets to focus that beam. What you get is a flat 2D image, basically a cross-section of what's inside the cell. It's like an X-ray for tiny cellular machines.
The other type is the scanning electron microscope, or SEM. This one does something completely different. It doesn't look through the sample, it looks at it. It scans a focused beam of electrons across the object's surface, and that interaction knocks other electrons loose. Detectors then collect all those loose electrons to build up this incredibly detailed, almost 3D-looking picture of the specimen's surface.
And these two images just say it all, don't they? On the left, a TEM image takes us inside a cell's little tail to see its intricate internal structure, something you could never see with light. And on the right, an SEM image gives us this breathtaking, high-def look at the surface of an ant's head. One looks inside, the other looks at the surface. And together, they gave humanity a completely new way to see the world. So from bending light with simple pieces of glass to mapping surfaces with beams of electrons, our quest to see the invisible has just been this amazing story of constant innovation. Every time we hit a wall, we figured out a clever way to get past it. Which leaves us with one last thought, right? What's the next barrier? And what new kind of vision are we going to have to invent to see beyond it?